missions, including the Giotto mission to Halley's Comet, TSS-1, Mars 94, and Cassini-Huygens. He specializes in uncertainty analysis, finite element modeling, and thermomechanical optimization. His current research focuses on the Turin Shroud, vision-based measurement systems, and structural diagnostics. Professor Fanti has authored over 150 papers in Italian and international journals, lecture notes, and books. He has been involved in pioneering studies on the Turin Shroud and diagnostic methodologies. Let's welcome Professor Fanti.
Thank you. Good morning to all. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, today I will present quite complicated results and hypotheses that I have already performed. In particular, the second part of this presentation will be quite complicated, so I ask you from now to pay attention, because it is not simple. The title, Holy Shroud, the Holy Shroud Corona Discharge, to explain the unique condition of the body image wrapping. This is the problem. Many have made various explanations, hypotheses, and so on to interpret how the shroud wrapped the body of Christ. Thus, trying to explain both the blood stains and the body image that are not in agreement with each other. Now I will present an hypothesis that will consider a unique wrapping to obtain body image and blood stains. The study develops according to the following points. As you see, there are many points. I hope to be in time. Starting from various body image hypotheses, I present quite synthetically the hypothesis of the divine photography based on the Holy Shroud of Jerusalem. I start to present the double wrapping configuration that it was the beginning of my study, and it was proposed by Gilbert Lavoie. Then I propose a single tight wrapping, and here the things are quite complicated, because we must consider the effect of coronal discharge linked to the Cousin law. This is the most important point to explain the unique wrapping. I present some experimental results, a mathematical model, and a very simplified calculation to show that all are in agreement with this hypothesis. Here are a very synthetic show of the various hypotheses presented in the past. Now we not consider this because I don't think that are reliable, but I consider, starting from the hypothesis proposed by John Jackson, Jesus mechanical transparent, I add the radiation due to coronal discharge proposed by various researchers, among them Giudica Cordiglia, who made the first experiments, Oswald Scheuermann, who taught me how to test and make experiments on coronal discharge. And as I told you yesterday, the gas diffusion hypothesis proposed by Ray Rogers. If we join together these three hypotheses, we arrive to that of the divine photography that I will try to explain now. The hypothesis that is described in the book, unfortunately all my copies have been sold yesterday, so if you want to take a copy, please take a paper sheet with the code of the discount, so you can order directly via internet. The hypothesis says the Holy Shroud wrapped for about 30 hours the body image of Jesus Christ in the sepulchre. An oily mixture of myrrh and aloes spread around the corpse was mixed with urea exuded from the cadaver. These are important points, because without these we don't arrive to the result that is considered in the hypothesis. We are speaking of the photography, the divine photography of 2000 years ago, and I make a comparison with a common photography on a film. So we have the substrate reagents. In the case of the shroud, we have urea hydrolyzed by coronal discharge, produced amines. These are the basis of the chemical reaction, Maillard reaction, that formed the body image. Sugar from aloe and myrrh were absorbed by the polysaccharide of the flax fiber. Energy to make the photograph. Normally we have light. In the case of the divine photography, the energy during the resurrection, there was something similar to the holy fire that every year manifests in Jerusalem. And an intense electric field that was measured by the Russian Volkov in the Holy Sepulchre just before the formation of the Holy Fire, generated a coronal discharge. Coronal discharge is an emission of electrons and then an electric field. Jesus became materially transparent, as foreseen by John Jackson, and the Holy Shroud collapsed under the gravity onto the sepulchral stone. The electric field produced electrons that hit the linen fibers, producing selectively localized chemical reaction of the fibers. This phenomenon produced the divine photography. Possible explanation of the holy fire. As you know, the holy fire is a phenomenon that repeats every year on the Saturday, Holy Saturday, but on the Holy Sepulchre, but it is not explained. It is not explained because it's initially composed of blue lights that transform in a cold fire that remains cold for about 5 minutes. A possible explanation of a friend of mine, engineer Adriano Marin, expert in nuclear radiation, is the following. A blue light or cold flame due to intense electric field measured, as I have said, by Volkov, could be the Cherenkov light. What is the Cherenkov light? Is emission of visible light caused by the electron crossing a fluid or plasma with speeds greater than that of light in the same fluid. As you know, the speed of light is variable depending on the fluid in which the light passes. In a neutron flux, the radioisotopes emit beta electrons and gamma radiation, photons. Beta electrons have been measured, as I told you yesterday, in the blood of the Shroud. And perhaps, I must say perhaps because the results are not definitive, perhaps also gamma radiation. Gamma radiation are photons or biophotons. The beeswax of the candles, hit by neutrons, breaks down into methane and on propane gas and other molecules. The electric discharge ignites, sharing of light, the bubbles of flammable, here bubbles, flammable gas mixed with air, but without generating hot fire due to its rarefaction. Image transfer. Here you see me at Jerusalem on the Saturday, Holy Saturday. I did hear about this fire, but I am an experimenter. I want to make the experiment on myself. This is a bunch of candles, and I put under my beard, and I am here to... so no problem. Image transfer, the directionality of the vertical electric field, vertical, remember, allow the information relating to the human body to be encoded on the Holy Shroud. 3D effect, the 3D effect that we see on the body image is due to this fact. The chemical reaction that darkened the fibers occurred mostly in the parts of the body in the contact with the sheet. Depending upon the thickness of the oily mixture of mere aloes put between the corpse and the shroud, the concentration of urea varied. Urea emitted by the corpse, as I told you yesterday, thus varying both the darkening and the 3D effect of the body image imprinted on the Holy Shroud. The intensity of the chemical reaction in the linen followed the cosinusoidal law of a floating body put in a vertical electric field. Please pay attention to these words because the key to interpret the results, my hypothesis. Reaction of the divine photography. A cold plasma, similar to that of the holy fires, contains negative ions that produce the corona discharge. Reducing sugars then interact with amino acid at a low temperature, less than 200 degrees, giving rise to defects in the linen fibers due to the Maillard reaction. A latent image resulted on the Holy Shroud. Development. With the time, the chemical defect oxidized and produced a visible image. This is the experimental results that I obtained at Padua University. This is a medal, a bronze medal, subjected to corona discharge, and these are the images that I obtained in a linen sheet. To obtain those images, I had to develop the photo by heating to about 200 degrees for 1-2 minutes. Holy fire, corona discharge with Maillard reaction. Here is the scheme described in the book that uses these concepts like gas diffusion proposed by Ray Rogers. As you know, only the gas diffusion is not able to produce the image we see on the shroud. This is an example of the spots that the same Ray Rogers obtained. Corona discharge obtained by Judica Cordiglia, and the experiments linked to the holy fire that I tested in Jerusalem. And this is what, according to me, produced the body image. Now things become a bit complicated. We start from the hypothesis of Gilbert Lavoie of the tight wrapping to obtain the blood stains, and the second position, more flat, of the shroud to obtain the body image. So, as you see, here are the experiments of Gilbert Lavoie that explain where were posed the blood stains around the face, and this is a reconstruction by me of the holy face, in which I posed in the probable position of the cheeks the blood stains we see on the hair. The problem, as you all know, I think, is that if we have a tight wrapping, if we put an handkerchief around the face and we open it, we have the distortions like the Agamemnon mask. And this is an experiment they have performed. I used a sculpture of the face of the shroud, where I put the blood stains in this position and wrapping with a sheet. This is the distorted image that we don't see on the shroud. So this is the demonstration that a normal tight wrapping is not able to produce the image we see on the shroud. These are some experiments that we have made, but the wrapping, according to last studies performed by my group, is that the sheet wrapping was very tight, perhaps less than 10 millimeters. Here is the distance of the shroud. We have made, as you see here, some hypotheses of different positions of the shroud, also considering some electric discharges. As you know, the electric discharge is a source perpendicular to the skin, not perpendicular to, parallel to the vertical direction. And this is the best result. If you want, you can find it in internet. And this is the best result that we have found. But as you see, it is not good. It is not good because the wrapping is not tight. And the limit in this study is that we must suppose, if we think valid those two hypotheses, is that we can suppose that in the first moment the shroud was wrapping tightly the face of Christ, and about 30 hours later, when the body image formed, you must think to a position more flat or curved, but not so much. Instead, now I present the proposal hypothesis of unique tight wrapping. And the unique configuration, blood in agreement con Gilbert Lavoie, the blood stains formed in a tight wrapping of the face, and there are no problems. Those on the hair corresponds to the wounds that Jesus had on the cheeks. So we must think that the blood stains on the cheeks transposed the blood through the hair. Not like in this sculpture, where we have a void between the hair and the face, but in the hypothesis that I will present now, we must think that the hair were tightly on the cheeks, so the blood stains transposed through the hair. Similarly, at the nape of the neck, the blood stains due to the crown of thorns transferred onto the holy shroud, passing through the hair. So we have an example of the transferring of blood stains through the hair on the nape. Here is the configuration I hypothesized, hair very close to the cheek, and a tight wrapping due to the shroud. This is a semi-transparent cloth that allows to see the position of the hair. The unique configuration allows to transpose before the blood stains and about 30 hours later the body image. Image different from Gilbert Lavoie, the body image formed with the same tight configuration of the holy shroud. You will pose a question, but the distortions, how can I cancel the distortions that are clearly evident due to the tight wrapping? And the answer is here. We must think to the coronal discharge. Here you see Oswald Scheuermann, who has hair disposed along the electric field lines, make the hair to appear softer. This is another point very important. On the shroud, if you look at the image, the hair seems soft, not packed as they would seem if wet and so on. Oswald Scheuermann is in contact with high voltage electrostatic field produced by the Van der Graaf generator. And the blood stains are under there, we have already seen. Soft hair, but not straightened because tightened by the holy shroud. So we would have a configuration of the hair like this if we have not the shroud. But as we had the shroud that is tightly wrapped, we have soft hair, but not along the lines of the electric field. And according to this hypothesis, the common image of Jesus Christ of the shroud are not correct. Here are some examples. You see that there is a space between the hair and the cheeks. No, as I have already said, the hair were in contact with the cheeks. Unique configuration, hair close to the cheeks. Let's go on. Possible proposed unique type wrapping. I began to propose this configuration at PASCO conference in 2017, where I proposed some wrapping configuration. Here I present this because there is another problem. The shroud, a linen sheet, is quite rigid. If it is quite rigid, the wrapping of, with a form like the face produces wrinkles. And this is an interesting thing because if we look at the shroud, we can detect just wrinkles like this. But in the hypothesis of tight wrapping, we must consider something more complicated because the linen sheet was wet and therefore was not only elastic, a bit elastic, but elastoplastic. So this is a mathematical simulation, numerical simulation, in which we see that the wrinkles are less evident because of the plasticity of the sheet. Here are some experiments made to interpret the Holy Shroud, the face of the Holy Shroud, and the wrinkles that are evident in the tight wrapping are also evident here and here. And this is a thing that I think interesting because never studied. Here we see the bump in correspondence of the cheek, but it seems that it is not a unique bump, but composed of two parts. Instead, no, it is a unique bump, but partially cancelled by the wrinkle. And this wrinkle confirm the hypothesis of a tight wrapping. Folds are reduced. We see not very evident folding in the shroud for various reasons. One of them is, as I have said, because the shroud was wet and a bit elastoplastic, but also additionally the folds on the Holy Shroud are less noticeable because the side hairs reduce the wrapping distortion and make the Holy Shroud shape more cylindrical. So the hair put here put the shroud less obliged to follow the protuberances of the nose and so on, but wrapping a cylindrical shape. Here we have some complication of the things. We must consider the cousin effects. Here is the hypothesis. The hypothesis is the human body thought as a cylinder. From the body of Jesus, wrapped in the Holy Shroud, is floating in a very intense vertical exogenous electric field. This is the schematic explanation of this hypothesis. The sweetie body is considered a cylinder conductive and ungrounded. The blood stains were transferred during the Holy Shroud during the about 30 hours of wrapping, while the body image was formed later on Easter Sunday during the resurrection. Here is the scheme of the coronal discharge, electric field, and cousin effect. This is a body image formation hypothesis based on coronal discharge discussed in 2008 at Columbus, Ohio conference that has to put a bit better in this proposal, where we see the cylinder, the body, the human body, the cylinder, tightly wrapped by the shroud. And we see the electrostatic field, vertical electrostatic field, that it is not electric, it results impacting the body image, as you see here, as an effect of deviating from the verticality, the linen field. the field lines, excuse me. And this is how the body was wrapped. The body of Jesus is considered a conductive cylinder. This is the schema. And this is the law, the mathematical law that regulates the image formation hypothesis. The luminance level of the body image, luminance level L, is proportional to electric field, but it is proportional through the H constant, but it depends on the cosine, on the theta angle. What is the theta angle? If we consider the vertical, this is the theta angle. And as you see here, the cosine is maximum 1 in the vertical direction, and it goes to 0 in the case of 90 degrees. So, this is very important. The luminance level that are proportional to the cosine of the angle theta depends on the direction of this angle. And we see that in this part, the upper part where is the nose and the cheek, we have an intense electric field, so L very intense, luminance intense, but the luminance goes to 0 in this direction. This is the direction where we have 0. And this, it is explained why we have the banding effect on, between air and face. This is a demonstration, an experimental demonstration of this. I analyzed this area, and this is the luminance profile that effectively show that L, the luminance vertical, depends on the cosine of the angle of the legs. And here is the explanation according to the luminance, depending on the cosine of theta angle. We have that this image, this gray image, is formed on the shroud, but in this area we have a cosine near to 90 degrees, and here we have no image. I have to add another problem from experimental results. We have not a continuous result of the image, but we have a threshold effect. A threshold effect is a characteristic of the body image verified experimentally. For a visible coloration to form on the linear fabric, it is necessary that the intensity of the vector L exceeds a certain minimum quantity, very different from 0. To make an example, I can say that if we have an intensity that goes from 0 to 100, the body image forms only if we have a luminance level that goes from 90 to 100. All the lower values are not able to produce the image. Here we have seen this fact. This is the wrapping, and this is why we see this image that it is a bit distorted, so the real image should be this, and in the shroud we can detect a minimal, not very noticeable distortion, because there are the air that flatten the wrapping. Wrapping distortion is little if the image is relatively small and for the hair presence. Here there is another point that complicates the hypothesis. Excuse me, but this is necessary to explain this hypothesis. We must think to the point effect. This is an example of point effect. I tested it using a plasma ball, and I put a needle, a metal needle, near the surface of the plasma ball, and you see this light produced at the point of the needle. It is very small. The diameter of the needle is less than 1 millimeter, just to have an idea. The intensity of the vector luminance also varies depending on the shape of the conductive surface based on the so-called point effect. The electric charge on the surface are concentrated where is smaller the radius of curvature, here it has the points. The relation that explains the point effect is this in which we see that electric field is inversely proportional to the radius of curvature. And according to this fact, we must think that the air that have a very small curvature radius had an intense electric field that produces the image of air and the beard and so on. Point effect on the air or effect on surface having a small radius of curvature, concentration of electric charge and then of luminance. And here is why we see the hair that have a luminance level higher than many parts of the body image. This is some measurement. We have detection of this, the luminance along these lines. This is the average performed in this rectangle, and this is the representation of hair, cheek, nose. You see the point here, cheek and hair, and this is the plot enlarged. There are distortions, and apart from the rapid distortion of the orange shroud already discussed, distortion due to the radiation perpendicular to the skin are negligible if the holy shroud is not flat but has a tight wrapping because of the small body sheet distance. This is why I suppose a very tight wrapping. If instead you suppose a quite flat wrapping, like the blue line, you see that radiation that is perpendicular to the skin produces a very evident distortion, like the Agamemnon mask. Instead, if the shroud is tight wrapping, has a tight wrapping, you can see that the distortions are very reduced. This is an experiment using finite elements. It was published some years ago, a work made at Padua University. Here is the mannequin, numerical mannequin, posed in a vertical field, I showed you before, and this is the result of the floating mannequin in the vertical field. If you make a comparison between these results, the red is the maximum intensity of the result, you see that there is a quite similar image of that, the shroud, both in, on the frontal surface and the other surface of the shroud. Luminance, this is a fact that very important that also yesterday I heard to be wrong. many state that the luminance of the body image is strictly dependent on the body sheet distance. No, or better, yes, but we have to consider other effects. These two, which are the inclination of the emitting surface, that depends on the cosine angles, with respect to the vertical, local vertical, which depends of the cosine of the angle. But there is a third effect that must not be forgotten, that is the amplification due to the point effect of the electric field. Why we see the perhaps more intense luminance level in correspondence of the point of the nose? Because there is, the nose is more pointed than the face that is flatter. And the luminance, the resulting luminance must be evaluated considering these three parameters, not only one. Perhaps the first one is more evident, but the other two are not to be neglected. And here is a result, an old result published by Oswald Scheuermann 10 years ago, in which he showed the 3D effect of a curved object in correspondence of the flat surface. This is the results obtained by Oswald Scheuermann, and the lines of level that I used with my computer show that there are levels compatible with the three-dimensionality. And now the formulas begin. I don't know if you want to see in details the formula of if it is better that I make a general explanation, avoiding the formulas that are here.
Whiz through. Go fast through the.
Fast, okay. The hypothesis is that I want to measure the intensity of some areas of the body image, 1, 2, 3, the nose, the pointed shape of the nose, the cylindrical, pseudo-cylindrical form of the face, and the hair that have a very small radius or curvature. These are the hypotheses you can read at this point, and we can start from the Coulomb law to determine the electric field, the potential, and these are the three areas, head, nose, and hair, that manifest different voltages and electric different charges. We can go on, and what it is interest for us is the surface charge density that is proportional to the luminance of the image. And we see that the three objects have different results, but I go to the end, this is the end, and we see that the surface charge densities are calculated, yes, are 1, normalized values in correspondence of the nose, 0.1 in correspondence of the face, and this is explained why the image here is less intense, but about 3, due to various effects, bundle of air, and so on, and we see that the maximum intensity is here in correspondence of the air. And this is the explanation why the hair are very evident, hair, mustache, and so on, are very evident in this image. Conclusion, Science cannot explain the body image, but the most credible hypothesis, at least for me, involves radiation. The best seems the following. Radiation is produced by the coronal discharge due to an intense electric field connected to the holy fire of Jerusalem in conjunction with the Maillard reaction produced by the exuded urea. Remember, please, that the quantity of urea was excessively high due to the flagellation that put out of work the kidneys. And this is explained why we have a large quantity of urea that is able to explain the hypothesis of the Maillard reaction. Two different holy shroud configurations have been hypothesized to explain both blood stains and body image. The present analysis, based on the cosine effect of the radiation angle connected to electric field, you see here the synthesis, proposed for the first time a single tight wrapping configuration to explain both blood stains and bloody image. So I reached the end. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Is time for one question? Okay.
Hi, Giulio. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
You have urea, which has two amine groups. Amine groups are also abundantly present in skin proteins and their breakdown products. Could these also participate in this idea?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You pointed out how that works with the skin crease, or the shroud crease at the chin level.
Excuse me, but
The crease-
the English is not good.
The crease line across the chin, horizontal crease line. Could you explain that?
You are speaking on this plot.
The crease line.
The crease line. The crease line is the bending effect. The bending effect that we see here. If we look at the image, this is an apparent bending effect. That it is not a real bending effect, but it is the effect due to the cosine angles. Here we have a cosine angle greater than minimum quantity, so the image was not produced. But was produced here because the hair have the point effect. 3, 4 ends rising.
I just wondered whether, given you've done all the mathematics, whether you can actually use the formulas to produce a clearer image.
No, a moment. I used, excuse me. I used different mathematical models. One was this. This was a mathematical model that was based on finite elements subjected to a vertical electric field. And in this case, we see element by element, which is the effect of electric field, and therefore the luminance level. And if you compare this image with this image, obviously the finite elements were less detailed, but we see that in correspondence of hair and the nose, we have the best image. This is perhaps the most interesting results obtained by finite element.
We have time for one more question, and then Giulio can answer any other questions outside the hall once we stop.
Yes. Why is the vector of the luminosity determined from the cosine and not the sine or the tangent?
Could you repeat that?
Why is the vector of luminescence determined off the cosine and not the sine or the tangent?
We must follow this formula. It is stopped. I say that the luminance is proportional to the local electric field. The electric field line are normal to the skin, so we have in correspondence of the nose electric line in this direction, vertical direction, and here we have, depending on the cosine, the electric field lines that are inclined according to the theta angle. But as we have seen from the theory of electrostatic, we have that this line, the effect of this line, the intensity of this line, is not constant, but we have maximum intensity here, and the intensity goes to 0 to 90 degrees.
Okay, we're going to have to end there for now. Giulio, if you go outside the hall and answer any other questions, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for attention.